folks, and welcome to episode 4 of Two Old Bucks. I am Dave, and with me is...
I'm Dale, the younger buck.
Yeah, you just won't let that go. 30 days, you're the younger buck. Okay. Anyway, it's good to be back, folks, after a little...
Hiatus.
I had to ship the laptop out for some much-needed repairs, but we're back. Anyway, episode 4. What are we going to talk about today? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about Dale's encounter with the cable guy. No brand names going to be included here. Stay out of the slander world. And I'm going to talk about a website that I just came across recently, and it talks about Polish ponies in Florida.
Polish ponies. I thought it was Polish. I said Polish, but it's Polish.
Well, it's Polish, yeah. It's like
Poland. Polish.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right, we're waiting.
Believe it or not, there are Polish ponies, and they do exist in Florida. And then we're going to go back to Dale, and he's going to revisit the bug kingdom here again after his spectacular episode on ants, which drew about 30 or 40 letters, emails. That was nice. And he's going to talk about a beautiful moth called the lanternfly.
The spotted lanternfly.
And Dale's got another surprise. It was a surprise to me, at least. A society that we have just co-founded.
Oh yeah.
You want to tell us the name of the society?
The citizens.
Okay,
representing alternative positions.
Citizens representing alternative positions. Okay, yes. We'll talk about that before we get into Letters From Afar. So, let's go back to our first topic. And Dale, tell us about the cable guy.
Okay, well, that started out simply in one of our coffee discussions and said, "What's up?" And I began to tell the story about my adventures with dealing with a large institution, a large communication institution. And I want to mention this. You remember the movie, Dave, the Cool Hand Luke?
Oh, yeah, Cool Hand Luke. That was Paul Newman?
Paul Newman, and the famous line is?
Let me think. That was a long time ago.
You can't say it.
What we got here is a failure to communicate. Something like that.
Yeah, it says, what we have here is a failure to communicate. And that's the key part of this story. So it all started with a repair to a telephone line. I believe that's what they were, a telephone line.
This is for the complex where you live.
This is in the system of a long line of pedestals where the phone lines are hooked. So it was several months ago that a call must have went in to fix a phone. Somebody still has a landline. The man came, dug a big hole in the ground, dug 2 big holes in the ground, fixed the phone line. It started to rain, and he left.
Well, I mean, it's raining. Come on.
Right. Okay, we forgave him.
You
for
want
that.
to dig a hole in the rain?
We thought true, and we thought
he'd job at the.
We thought he'd
cemetery.
come back. We thought he'd come back the next day and put it back together. So we waited a couple of weeks. So we started to call.
So a couple of weeks. That's beyond the next day.
Yeah, okay. A couple of weeks. Right. We waited a couple of weeks, and someone said, "Listen, I'll call and get this thing resolved." So we started making phone calls to this giant communication company, and they assured us that a work order would be, instituted, and they would send somebody out and fix this. So 2 months later, and 3 people later, until finally it got to me.
So they lied to you? I can't believe that.
Well,
maybe lie is too strong.
That's the essence of the thing. It's like you're trying to explain to them that this has nothing to do with an actual cable or a phone. This has to do with a hole in the ground. And the person who's calling in doesn't have an account. And like I said, it's a failure to communicate. You're trying to explain to a representative that you don't have a cable that's broke. You have a hole in the ground you want to fill. And you can't believe these big companies are so regimented that, you know, they have such a system that they can only do certain things. Can you speak to a supervisor? No. Can you do this? Do that? So this went on for months, and I'm talking hours of delay time and listen to the recordings. Finally, I even called in.
You're getting a little grouchy here, you know.
Yeah, I finally called in. I was making up stories at that point. I said, listen, I'm a landscaper, and I just ran over all your cable. And
that got their attention?
No, it didn't. It didn't.
Okay.
And she said, what's your account? I said, I just ran over all of your cables. I just mulched them with a lawnmower. Do you want to, you know, I can tell you the intersection.
Do you care?
Yeah. Anyhow, so that didn't work either. So they never did. Finally, after a long, tedious effort, I finally got to a person, because every time they gave a work order, they said, this ticket is finished. This job is done. We've connected those lines. We're finished with this. I finally got to a man in Texas who said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to get the hole filled back in and the wires covered. And he said, and then he wrote up a different ticket and got to a different guy. So almost 2.5 months, finally a man came. And one afternoon, he put the pedestals back up, filled in the dirt, and everything went back to normal. But what I mean by lack of communication, you could not say that without an account number. There was nobody in this system that you could say, let you talk to Dave.
Well, let me ask you a question. Is the hole filled in now after 3 months?
The hole is filled in. But there's another case where there was the same situation. I said, you people are not listening to what I'm saying to you. And I think if the listeners out there are dealing with a big corporation, a big corporation, very, very restrictive in how they process the paperwork, you don't have an account number, you just want to report that something happened to their equipment, you have to really struggle to do that. You can't even be a good Samaritan and say, listen, I just cut all your phone lines with a lawnmower, and give them an address, and they would look into it.
So this is like the rant of the day.
This is a rant.
We're starting off being grouchy.
People are going to relate to this. You get really, really angry when you try to explain something like this. It's just a failure to communicate. Now, if you have a legitimate account number,
I'd rather watch the movie. I mean, really.
You mean the movie Cohen Luke?
Yeah, that's a lot more interesting than what we're talking about now.
No, but he gets beat up a lot in the movie. You ever notice that? He's tenacious in his attitude, even though he takes a beating. Anyhow, that's what it amounts to. When you're dealing with a big corporation, you'll find that phrase that I just said. What we have here is a failure to communicate.
There you have it, folks.
I think that's enough beating up on these guys. But anyhow, people out there in the world will understand that.
Okay.
The bigger they are, the harder it is to deal with them.
Take a sip of your coffee there, buddy.
Give me another shot at that.
All right. So, moving right along. On a more serious note, I just came across this website recently, and the website is the Polish Pony Society of Central Florida. Whoever knew there was anything like that? So I was curious about this, so I clicked on it, opened it up, and it's
You mean like people are curious about what could two old bucks be?
Something like that.
Made you push the button.
What do we
just to see what this thing could be? What kind of
what would happen here?
Okay,
exactly.
Polish ponies.
Down the rabbit hole. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of an interesting website. Let me give you the name of the website if anybody wants to look at it. It's polishponyfl.com. That's one word, polishponyfl.com. So I'm just want to read a little bit about the website. It starts off, it's got these pictures of these ponies, and it says, the magic of the konik. The konik is the Polish pony, okay, that's a breed. Comes from the centuries of treasure and harvesting of true joy from the endless love of healthy ponies. It goes on here, tells you a little bit about the society. The Polish Pony Society of Central Florida has welcomed all who love the joy of our treasured konik. The skipping of hoofbeats and the neigh of the foal and the glow of the mother's love. These are the moments that bring us together. We do not want anything more. Come and join with us in a celebration. A konik needs your love too.
So I'm not following you. What's they're collecting these things?
Well, they have the ponies apparently, and they say they don't want anything. Let me go on here. They talked about the founder, who was a Dr. Sadlowski. That's a woman, and it has a couple pages of history of the ponies and their use in the Prussian War, and later being used in the coal mines in Poland. And there's actually some gory details about an uprising in the coal mine and an ugly incident that.
So the ponies were used to what? Pull a tram car?
To pull the cars out of the coal mine, yeah.
Okay, and they were small enough to fit in the small mines.
They were small. A regular horse was too big, but the ponies were perfect, and so some of them were able to escape this bloody uprising here. And somehow they got to Florida. I don't know, but they're in Central Florida, and again, they don't seem to be asking for any money. It's just an awareness thing, asking you to come see them. So check out the website at polishponyfl.com.
Are you taking questions on this, Dave? Or you don't really have any answers for this anyhow
you
yourself?
can ask me a question. Yeah, I'll do my best.
I mean, like on a little ranch out there, can you go and pet them? I mean, what do you...
they've got some pictures of the ponies, and they show people feeding the ponies. They've got some historical pictures of the ponies in the mine. They're kind of weird, like it says a happy pony in the mine. I'm not sure how happy they were in the mine, but
so does this fall under the collection, the general topic of what people collect? I mean, people collect everything. So I'm just trying to put my mind around why I would drive down into Central Florida to look at that
is horse country after all. I mean, Central Florida.
Oh yeah, but those horses up there,
they're
you're
different.
talking the ones that are down there. Those horses down there are thoroughbred Kentucky Derby kind of horses.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is, folks, check the website out, see what you think. It's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Polish ponies. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but let's talk about something a little smaller,
more serious?
a little smaller, a little more serious. Now, this is our Culture Club section, folks, and Dale's going to educate us a little bit on the lanternfly.
Well, this to me was very fascinating. This is from an article in the Smithsonian magazine, October issue 2020 of the Smithsonian magazine. And this may be of interest to a lot of people. This was a story about the spotted lanternfly. And let me read the blurb on that. Is an invasive insect that has spread throughout Pennsylvania since its discovery in Berks County in 2014. The spotted lanternfly feeds on the plant sap of many different plants, including grapevines, maples, black walnut, and other important plants in PA. If you see the spotted lanternfly, help us stop it in its tracks. To report sighting, use our reporting tool below or call our hotline at 1-888-422-3359.
Wait a minute. That's too many digits. Let's try that again.
1-888-422-3359.
You're right. I'm sorry.
All right.
Okay.
Of course.
That's going to get edited out.
All right, spotted lanternfly. Anyhow, this thing, if you read this article or Google this thing should scare the daylights out of you. The way it propagates itself, how it spreads, and the ability of this, I would say a moth, to destroy a complete orchard of grapes or apples. And this, he says, this is so serious of an invasive pest, has such a healthy appetite. And the way it does it, the way it sucks the sap out of these things, of plants, the biggest concern is just it's spreading in the United States to places like California or something like that, and it has no natural enemy, and it can travel. It doesn't have to be on a plant to reproduce itself. It can travel underneath of a truck. It can attach itself to anything and just
underside of a pony, perhaps.
I don't know. I don't know if it grows in hair, but
okay.
I mean, you think about this. Just when you think we've got enough issues that can that can cause a financial disaster. If this thing ruins the grape or the vegetable harvest in 3 states of the United States, I mean, they were talking millions and millions of dollars worth of damage that this thing can cause. And now they don't have a way to stop it. So in essence, if you happen to be in this area of America where you see this, you got to report it to the Penn State. There's a Penn State division is researching this. University of Pennsylvania? Penn State. Pennsylvania.
That's
yeah.
different.
2 different schools.
University
Sorry
of
about
Pennsylvania
that.
is the one nobody can afford.
But the lanternfly, if you get a chance to Google this article, there's a whole bunch of stuff out on this now. It's found in 26 counties, all of which are under an imposed quarantine. There's one story in the article about a man who had to physically check every plant and every tree that he was selling or moving, and he basically went out of business. He just couldn't manage the expense of that.
Mm-hmm.
So the spotted lanternfly, look that up, and I think you'll find that to be very interesting. I never heard of it before. I'm only mentioning it because talking to you about it, and the other 3 people that listen to us.
So we do more than just provide useless information.
Right. That's all I have to say about that. And that's a serious invasive species.
Okay.
So back to you.
All right. Well, back to me. It's going to come back to you because you're going to explain the society that we have. We say that we've co-founded, but you're the brains behind this thing.
Well, it's just this is a group of people, of like-minded people. So far, let me count. We have 1, 2 that represent citizens representing alternative positions.
Citizens representing alternative positions.
Citizens representing alternative
positions. It's a society
positions.
For this.
Well, that'd be us. You can be inducted. You can volunteer to join if you like.
We're trying to.
But basically, you'll be inducted into the society because you obviously get to be part of a citizens representing alternative positions because you have a position.
Okay.
Alternative to the norm, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We're not talking conspirity theories here. No. We're talking about.
Well, here's an idea then.
Okay.
So I'm all in on this idea.
Okay.
I just learned about it this morning, I guess. But
yeah. Great ideas occur quickly.
My proposal is any letter from afar that gets read on the air, as it were,
could qualify
is an induction. Induction into the society.
So there you go. That's simple. So any letter from afar, and we get
speaking of letters from afar,
far out letters.
I'm shocked at the increase in the volume of mail that we've gotten. I mean, let me read one here now.
All right, here we go.
And what's incredibly amazing is we're getting letters from all over the planet.
We have that kind of reach all over the planet.
Unbelievable.
This internet thing is unbelievable.
Let me read this first letter. This is from Judith from Ljubljana.
Ljubljana. That's a real place.
That's a real place.
Okay.
That's the capital of Slovenia. I've been there actually. Beautiful, beautiful little city. River runs right through the middle of it. Cafes along.
A river runs through it.
A river runs through it. Okay. So anyway, Judith is commenting about the bright side of COVID. And she says, well, first of all, she says, just listen to episode 1. Loved it. You have great voices. Well, that's a plus. I will subscribe when you get on Google Play. I think we're on Google Play now.
So, that's great. Google Play. Okay.
All right. And she says, one more thing that's good about the pandemic, women are saving money on makeup. As long as your eyes look good, that's all you need.
I agree. In fact, the other day I was looking at somebody with a mask on, and I could tell they were smiling because I'm starting to read eyes.
There you go.
You see that?
We're learning some new skills.
Yeah. It's like. So I agree with Judith.
That's a good point. The eyes that's kind of the only thing anybody sees anymore.
Does that deserve an induct?
Do
you think she should be an inductee?
I would say that Judith would be inductee number 1 into the society for.
All right, so now there's 3 people in the citizens with representing alternative positions. All right, what do we got?
Do you have any letters?
Oh, here's one here from Becky from Normalville.
Normalville. Now that also is a real place. Okay, Normalville. That's up around the ski regions in Pennsylvania.
I'm believing that's a real place. That's like Far Rockaway and Slippery Rock.
Slippery Rock.
Yeah, Slippery Rock.
So, but Normalville.
That makes me laugh every time I say that.
I've been to Normalville. Normalville it's kind of
okay. What does she say? She says, "I like listening to you, Bucks. First, I have the utmost respect for ants living up there."
Okay, so here. Unlike you, she may be a Buddhist because she doesn't smash them. She likes the ants. That's
good. She
okay. What else does she?
I'm glad that she could relate to the ant story. I mean, everybody has an ant story, by the way, and a teeth story and a Volkswagen Beetle story. And it also says, I love Tidy Cat containers to put my bulk rock salt. I remember that stuff into them. Sprinkle on the sidewalks. I remember doing that years ago. I don't do that anymore. People hoard them up here. Hard to come by.
Okay.
Ooh, Craigslist. There you go.
I mean, I've missed a cultural trend here. Clearly, these are.
I told you that. You've seen them. Haven't you seen those things?
Well,
they're very useful.
It's like if you buy a red car, then every car is red. I guess ever since then, I've seen Tidy Cat containers everywhere.
Okay, and then she continues. I was in shock a few years back when our dog had stomach surgery, and $65 was tacked onto the itemized bill for this cone.
Okay, wait a minute. So she's talking about the free cone. That was free stuff on Craigslist.
He had the extra large one due to his breed, but I offer it to people if their dog is getting neutered or sprayed to spare them the sickening expense. What a ripoff! So she must have donated hers.
Okay, so they're out there and there are use for them.
And the next sentence after that, she says, "And he's out there going to town with the Christmas lights." And I assume she's implying he's chewing them up or something.
I don't know.
Like that,
so the dog's hanging the Christmas lights. All I got to say, Becky, if your dog's hanging the lights, I just think we've got our first celebrity guest coming up.
I'm going to say, Becky, you're in.
Okay, Becky.
Becky, you're in. You're now a proud member of Citizens representing alternative positions.
Okay.
So one more. You got another letter?
I've got one here. Yeah, this is getting back to the local area. This is from Rick in Florida, and he says, "Dear $2, kudos to you for sharing the fruits of your fertile minds with the world."
Ooh, see, there's somebody who's clearly got an alternative position.
He's angling for a position.
Oh,
he wants to be inducted. Okay, so he goes on. As a trumpet player, I thought I'd be very interested in your segment on mouthpieces, but you are discussing something entirely different. Perhaps in the future you could do a segment on real mouthpieces.
I'm going to do a 10-second mouthpiece example right now. I once played a trumpet. I say I once played a trumpet, and I do recall. I think he's talking about musical mouthpieces.
Yes.
Not like a saxophone or a clarinet, but a brass or a metal piece that fits on your lip that you blow into for a horn section. And I did play for one, and that mouthpiece left a permanent indentation in my lip when we fell off the third row riser in band practice one day. and the whole third string trumpet section went right backwards, right off the radio. We all landed on our head against the wall. Yeah, so
all right.
I had an experience with mouthpieces.
So you've got a kind of a traumatic experience with mouthpieces.
Ooh.
So there you go, Rick. And okay, let's go on here. This was a pretty long, involved letter. He's touching on all the bases here. He says, regarding loser lotto, I must say I don't get it. Are you promoting a method of picking losing numbers? Are you sending a message that it's just as valuable as buying a book on how to pick winning numbers?
Sort of. Yeah, I mean, you're going to lose. And
Sort of. I think he nailed it here.
I think he nailed it.
Let's face it.
In fact, we're going to make some changes to Loser Lotto. So if he's listening in, he'll be able to pick it up later on near the end of the broadcast. We keep that to the very end so we can make it short.
All right.
So,
okay.
But he's pretty much right about that.
I think that's it. I mean,
That's
Rick,
right.
You nailed it, buddy. So this goes on here. He says, last, I love culture. Now, this is cool. He spelled it Cultcha. Like
That's the way you pronounced it. Culture with
Culture.
a K, right?
Culture. There's no R on the end of this. Pay attention. It says, I hope you don't get in trouble using Kultur Klub, a copyrighted term in your podcast. Boy George might get his legal mouthpiece on your case. Now, you see how he worked mouthpiece into this as well.
This guy.
Rick is...
Definitely a member of
he's in.
citizens
He's in.
representing in alternative positions.
Maybe we ought to talk to Boy George, but I think we're safe here because we did spell it with a K.
So, Rick, if you're out there listening, if you picked this one up, buddy, you're in. Thank you for your letter, and thank everybody for their letters. Don't hesitate to fire them off. Where do they fire them to, Dave? Where are you getting them from?
That would be buckstwoold@gmail.com, buckstwoold@gmail.com. We've got a website out there. There's a Two Old Bucks website. You can look at the episode.
There's a picture in the web. Have a picture on that?
That would be
website?
us. Yeah, that would be us.
Oh, that was like 12 years ago when we took that?
That was like 12 days ago.
Okay, you heard it, folks. You've heard it out there, and it's a big wide world.
I just want to say one other thing about Letters From Afar. I mean, we've got listeners. I can't believe we've got listeners in Norway,
Really?
Israel, Morocco. Who'd have thunk? And
Who would have thought? I hope he's not trying to learn English from listening to us.
Speaking of that, there's one other letter here.
You got another letter? Okay.
Let me just touch on this last letter here before we slide into Loser Lotto. This is from Bernard.
Why are you grimacing when you say that?
Talk to Rick. Now, this is for Bernard from Barking, England. All right. Now, again, I looked this up. And that's listed on our stats. We've got a listener in Barking, England.
Barking.
Mm-hmm. He says, he's talking about this is the bright side of COVID thing again here. He says, being able to disinvite extended family from holiday gatherings without it being rude. If they are old and with lots of preconditions, all the better. Now, I mean, he's got a point here, but that's kind of like kind of cold.
We mentioned that. I thought it was a great way to get out of going to functions. I mean, I can't come.
Well, you were
to
talking.
The baby shower.
Our position was I can't come. His position is
I'm
not inviting you anymore. This was a good excuse to not be invited.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, that's good. That's a good one.
I'm thinking, people are using these things. We're just barely touching the surface on how people are taking advantage of this. I can't do it because of the COVID thing. So
I don't know. Bernard, should we induct him? Is that? Well, we said if we read it on the air, the person's in.
So Bernard, you're in.
You're in, Bernard.
Citizens representing alternative positions
from Barking, England.
Barking, England. Yeah. We should say that we are also adhering to COVID recommendations. We are over 6 feet apart, and I think we respecting each other's space.
All right. Let's move right along.
Moving right along
to Dale's favorite segment, Loser Lotto.
Hey,
you want to give us another try?
I'm getting a lot of flack over this thing. It's basically, I tried this. I picked numbers, and if you're looking at the lotto ticket that I'm looking at, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares on a row and 2 rows. So that's 10 numbers. So I'm picking these things. I'm thinking, as I'm writing this down, I can make little letters out of it, especially the word lotto, because it's just L's and, straight lines. So I'm thinking, lose lotto. Isn't that funny? Wouldn't that be funny to go ahead and you play that ticket, you give it to the guy, and when you see all those numbers, you think, how could I possibly lose this thing? I must hit at least 2 or 3. So I did this, I don't know how many times, and sometimes out of all those picks, I only get one number out of all of them. I'm thinking, man, this is a losing situation.
So it's definitely a loser.
It's definitely a loser. So I'm advocating, if you're going to play, now some people don't play, but I'm advocating if you do play, it's a very simple. You don't even have to try to write the word lose, because the S is very difficult to make with only 5.
So you're changing the rules here.
I'm going to change the rules.
The guidelines. They're not rules.
So
they're
Mr. and
guidelines.
Mrs. America and all the ships at sea, I'm changing the rules to loser lotto. You're still going to lose. However, all you need to do is just fill in the word lotto and lotto. Lotto. That's easy to write. And when you hold up, the little dots on the page will say lotto. And then what we need to find out is, as millions of people try our method, they can then write to us and tell us how many people are winning. Even though we guarantee they wouldn't, we would have some kind of a mathematically proven system that's more confusing than the previous one.
If that's even possible.
You follow any of this?
No.
All I know is I got my ticket. I'm holding you can see the ticket. I'm holding it in my hand, and I can read the words.
You want
lotto. So just go Lotto.
All right.
And play it. And then if you win, you don't tell me how much. You can say, hey, your system works, and we'll change it from loser lotto to winner's lotto. And
I'm really lost now.
I'm
totally with Rick on this now.
All right.
Well, here's my only suggestion.
The letters are going to be flocking in, man. We're going to have more people.
They'll be flocking in on seagulls. Yeah.
Citizens representing.
So I know you've been opposed to my idea of if they win, they send a share to us. I know you think that's.
No, I don't think they should send us anything.
Okay. Well, they do have a couple places to think about. I was just going to say that they could support the Lanternfly project at Penn State. You could look at the Koenig ponies, although on their website they say we really don't want anything from you, but who knows?
There might be other organizations.
Okay.
I mean, who knows? If this thing turns out, we'll completely discontinue this portion of the program if our lotto numbers start hitting too much, because the chaos with all this wealth out there will just beyond our ability to cope with. So we'll leave it at that. Send your letters in, your criticisms, your good thoughts, and we'll see what let's see what the people have to say about this.
All right, we'll let the people speak. All right. On that note, I think we're ready to shut down another episode.
I see you waving your finger over there. This is two old bucks saying we are out of here for today.
That's my forefinger I'm waving, just so everybody knows. All right, folks, we will see you the next time. This is Dave.
This is Del.
And we are
Two Old
Bucks.